There he is. Good old faithful Alistair.
And
For a second,
Mhm.
I was like, he's not gonna work. Like last time, I was like, please. But no. Bills haven't paid, so it should be working. Alistair should be cooperating today. That good old faithful British teddy bear with his monocle.
The only one who drinks tea out of all of us here at the tavern while everybody else is drinking beer? Yeah, I see you. Monocle boy over here just casually sipping tea while we're trying to get him a beer.
He requested specifically to have. He was like, "No, I don't want your little dirty mugs. Or I want my own little cup." So Scales had to make him a little cup and it had to have design, and it had to be like a very fine china. And he always drinks his tea with his little pinky up too.
It's always
too much, man.
pinky. Always the pinky. And then the way he just closes his eyes and just like goes for it. I'm like, come on, man. You don't need to act all pretentious with us. It's fine, Alistair.
Like Alistair, we for the first couple of days he was just drinking hot water because we don't really have tea in the tavern. It's a tavern. So it all pretend. He was just sipping on hot water, but I guess whatever. He finally does have tea though, but that's how extra he is. But yeah. Poor Alistair, man. Getting roasted almost every episode. It's starting to become
I know,
a thing.
Right? Well, and to everybody else, welcome on into the tavern again today, and thank you for joining Silver and I as we continue on the road on discussing The Last of Us. We are working on episode 4 today, which is a really good episode. I believe, was it called We'll Get Through the... No, Long Time. That's what it was called. It's a good episode for Joel and Ellie, and I think a really poignant one. And as well as I think it sets the tone for how the rest of the series would go, I would argue. How do you feel about the...
Yeah, I agree with you, Anbu. There's a lot of bonding that happens, as we were talking a little bit about earlier today. So now they already witnessed how Bill and Frank, passed on. They did get a lot of equipment, food. They have a vehicle now. They are, on their way to supposedly, get to the checkpoint where they're going to go ahead and turn in Ellie. Everything looks nice and pretty, but we all know that in most zombie or apocalyptical sort of movies and series, there's always, that nice little moment, and that's where things is about to go wrong. But during that small little period, they start finding like ways to kind of bond with each other, because they still have that kind of like friction of like, you're just like a package that I need to deliver in order for me to obtain this, or to keep a promise that I had to Tess, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So one of the things I feel like we might have accidentally missed, and this was my fault, I totally glossed over this. At the end of the episode with Bill and Frank, I think Joel or Ellie finds a letter that Bill wrote, where it says something like, to Joel, or whoever finds this. And what I found interesting about that letter is how it shows why Bill kind of connects with Joel, in that he believes they're very similar. Different experiences, of course, but very similar in in a sense of that having your guard up and then kind of being okay with the world ending because your world had already ended and all this other stuff. And what he points out is, once you find something you care about, that one person, like Frank was to Bill, you realize how much you'll do what it takes to protect those that you love. And I kind of loved that foreshadowing because of how it sets up ultimately what we know of Joel and Ellie's relationship. But it kind of goes to show where Joel currently is, where he's Bill in that moment before he softens to Frank, where he's got his guard up. He's lost everybody again. He's looking for the one last person that connects him to this world, Tommy, while also trying to keep his promise to Tess, which is deliver Ellie, because that's like the one last thing he can at least do for Tess is take care of Ellie and get her to where she needs to go. And also, in the same breath, I find it interesting that Ellie inevitably finds a gun and she keeps it to herself because she knows Joel's going to tell her no, because, you know, we will find out later he's trying to protect what he thinks is her innocence. And yet she's like, yo, I need a gun. And he's like, please stop trying to take guns, Ellie. You don't need it. Which segues into the beginning of this episode where she's got the gun out. She's doing like the kill mode activated. She's like looking at herself in the mirror, feeling herself with this gun. Like, yo, what's up? I'm a badass. Like, I'm about to bust a cap over here. Like, she's got it all like practicing poses and stuff while Joel is messing around with cars outside of this gas station. And then eventually, like, she puts it away and she finds Joel siphoning gas. And she doesn't know what he's doing, but, you know, she figures she's going to ask him and see what he's doing. And he tries to explain it to her. And I love in that moment, she goes, you really don't know how this works. He's like, but I know it works. And it kind of gives you that sense of like that ease of knowing that even if he thinks of her as cargo, there's still an inkling to Joel of caring about her. It's clear. Like, it's enough for him to be like, I may not care about you as like family, but I care about you enough to know I need to get this done. And so he tells her not to wander off because, of course, she's still cargo to him. So she decides to get back at him by pulling out the dad jokes. And we're talking like, this isn't the first volume, because she makes it a point to show Joel that it's volume 2, and you get it, it's 2 like TLoU. And let me tell you, I groaned in the exact same way that Joel, just his look of like, oh God, you can like go wait in the car. I felt that so hard. And those jokes are just,
yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, his face, his I just died inside face. It's like, oh God, this is gonna be a much longer road than I thought it was gonna be. He's like, it's not enough that things are trying to kill us all around, and then there's random raiders that are also trying to kill us, and oh wait, we don't have resources, many resources in case we need food or get injured. Let's add dad jokes, really bad dad jokes.
Death by dad jokes.
You're right. It's funny though. He seems to, be happy about it. It seems to, I don't know. It's such a silly thing, I guess, on top of all those things, that it kind of almost normalizes everything, right? Like all the list I just said, right, of horrible things happening. And that one thing, though it sounds like it's going to be the worst thing and it's super annoying, it kind of adds like to that whole like family trip thing. It kind of normalizes the whole experience to him. So that I feel like that's the comforting part for him, is that they're now having this sort of like very normal thing that you would have with your daughter if you went on like a daughter father trip, right? The whole silly things that maybe she can come up with or you come up with, or like the weird adult questions that you're hoping you're not gonna get asked, like the one we were talking about, the magazine, the adult magazine. They do music also, I believe.
Yeah, she finds I think a tape, right? Like a little cassette tape, which made me feel old because I was like, I still remember those. and was like, here, something for like your nostalgia, she says to him, or something like that. And then he pops it in because she's just like checking everything out in the back.
Yeah, and I think that's what he liked. You know, that's what started bringing those walls down. Granted, like you said, he read that letter, but it gave him that kind of like maybe even like memory of him spending. We don't see the scenes of it happening, but I'd like to believe that that's probably what he's equating it to, right? Like the times that he maybe went out and had trips with his own daughter, right? And the things that they talked about and experienced, and that normalized it to him. Hell, you can probably even see the warmth coming back into his eyes from that kind of like cold, murderous stare that we found him at the beginning of the series after everything went down, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please continue. I was interrupting.
I think I ended my thought there, my man.
But no. Well, I was just gonna agree with you that you can. This is what again, Papi Pascal. You know, we are all for you. We love you. We stand you here. We got a church that's being built in the back of the bar. We didn't tell the barkeep just yet. Hey, nothing, Skitty. Don't worry. No, what I love about this episode is you see the two sides of Joel, and we'll see the other side later in the episode. But in this one, we are seeing a shift, because instead of him being just like the hard ass, I'm not going to really say much, I'm just going to keep to myself, I don't really need to talk to you because you're just cargo, he's bonding with Ellie. He's taking time with her. And granted, she's kind of forcing it with like the dad jokes. Like my favorite one that pops to mind is her doing the whole, what did the mermaid wear to her math class in algebra? Like there's little moments like that where you're right. Even though it may not be the exact same as it was with his daughter, it's enough to remind him of what it felt like to be a father. And in a world that feels like everybody's out for themselves and everybody is just trying to survive, and really a lot of the world just feels like a bunch of older people where you don't really see a lot of kids at all, at least so far. You get the sense of like, this is what it used to be like back when the world was normal and things were what we expected it to be, what we were used to, what's comfortable. So, though Joel is trying to put on his tough posterior of like, yeah, you're just cargo or whatever, trying to like keep his promise to Tess, you do see him softening up. And it's great to see that subtlety in the shift in his body language and in his delivery. And like you said, in the way that his eyes portray that change. It doesn't have to be big. It's not a big moment, but it's there and you can feel it and you can see it. And that's what makes those moments, these tiny little moments, so important for the show, because the show is about human connection and about relationships and surviving in a world where it's almost kind of like a death sentence if you let yourself have these warm relationships.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're absolutely correct. It is what he needs, and you can see the healing starting for him, which is good. You know, it's good for him. He lost Tess. You know, before that he lost his daughter. You know, the man's been losing so many important people to him. He lost his brother too, right? Which is why he's also on sort of this road, right? But I'm glad, you know, it's good to see how he starts healing by opening up to her and having to let her in and not just consider her baggage. What I do want to say is adding to the whole father-daughter trip. If you look at it, it's basically a camping trip. You know, so when I was quick little small derail, when I was in my 20s, I used to like man, that made me sound really, I just aged myself. Okay. I might have to edit that out. Dang
No,
it.
we're keeping it in. You heard that right.
Oh God! Nobody heard that. Skittles. Used to forget. Spell or something.
Listen. I aged myself by talking about how I remembered VHSs. All right, we committing to this. Commit to it, Silver. It's fine.
Anyways, I used to take my nieces and goddaughters on camping trips. And this is basically what it reminded me, you know, this whole little like weird little talks that we would all have, jokes, silly conversations, comments about music, things to kind of like slowly start kind of breaking the ice, because you know there's those age gaps, right? And you kind of like are testing the waters to see like what's the limit. You kind of throw like little jabs at each other, right? Because I think I don't know if she's judging him about like the ravioli, right? And he's kind of like making those like weird fatherly comments of like slow down, dude, before like you like choke on this, you know, on the food, whatever they're having. I know it was ravioli because that's the only thing I can remember, because I was like, man, look at that, like Chef Boyardee ravioli. It'll survive the zombie apocalypse for sure. So duly noted. Make sure we stack up on that just in case.
Wasn't it crazy though? I'm sorry to interrupt, but like,
no,
20-year-old Chef Boyardee ravioli, and this dude is like, yo, like, I actually agree with you that it's really good, because she's like, oh, this is good. Because, like, she doesn't know what fresh Chef Boyardee ravioli is. She's getting this 20-year-old can that's been sitting there just soaking in all the juices. And this is what she knows to be good. And so and he's just like, yeah, this is good. I agree with you. And you're like, bro. Like,
yeah, man, that's
like, 20-year-old. How are they not sick? Because it doesn't, real quick, doesn't Chef Boyardee raviolis have meat in it? Wouldn't that just go bad?
Yeah. Well, you know, yes. The answer is yes. Yes, it would. And I don't know. That's the answer too. I have no idea how. So we so the family, we've always been like, growing up, we've always been like business owners. And one of the businesses that I got to experience myself growing up was a meat market. And we had groceries there too. So I can tell you for a fact that after a couple of years, they do go bad. They will either sometimes bloat up, right? Or because of like wear and tear, in the sense of like as you're cleaning the counters, accidents happen. So you like accidentally bump it and you get like a dent in it. And if it gets a dent, you don't know if it actually has air broken in, because it's not all aluminum. Like, it's a very thin layer of aluminum and like some sort of other material that can easily break around the can. So once you get a dent, it's you have to throw it out, because if not, you can risk, you know, the consumers, you know, getting sick, and you don't want that sort of legal issues. So I have no idea how for 20 years those cans have not been dented or bloated up, or the seal has been broken, honestly, because it will happen. It'll rust. And then once it rusts, even a tiny little hole of air that goes in, it turns it into poison, you know, because air will make that bacteria start growing in there. And it's essentially like a death bomb. So assuming they got it from Bill and Frank's storage. Well, actually, now that I think about it, he maybe kept it in a place where it's always, you know, Bill is like enough of a like type of individual that would make sure that it's like in a nice, safe spot and never, you know, actually makes the mistake of pushing. I don't know. Maybe now that I'm thinking about it, it's like the way, just by thinking of how Bill would have kept it, maybe he would have stayed safe.
But I feel like realistically, at some point it would have gone bad. And I'm only saying that just because like, even if you keep it in like, I don't know, cool temperatures, not freezing temperatures, even if you keep it in the most pristine condition, at some point that meat's gonna go south
You're right.
and go
You're right.
wrong.
Mhm.
And all I can think about is like, damn, Joel, I wish I had your stomach at my age, just being able to eat 20-year-old Chef Boyardee ravioli and then wake up and have coffee like it's nothing. This man is going on an acid trip for his stomach, heartburn galore, and I'm just like, dude, how are you doing this at like 50 or 60? I like if I were to do that consistently,
Bro, for
oh
real.
gosh, I'm like popping the Tums, I'm popping like something to keep my stomach from dying. I'm just like, damn,
Yeah.
dude, all right.
Even with fresh ravioli, I'm already popping Tums at this age, to be honest with you, while am staring at a bottle of Tums right here next to my desk. I don't, yeah, I don't know how he would do it. But then again, it goes to show how horrible probably of a diet you have during this sort of apocalyptic
Yeah.
world. Like, what else? Because we don't really see much what they eat. So, like, I don't know, what kind of trash are they eating? We know they used to eat those ration things while they were in the other, that sort of like zone. I forgot what's it called,
Yeah.
DMZ. But yeah, for like 20-year-old Chef Boyardee, it tastes good. Man, I am not looking. That's, I guess, the only thing I would not be looking forward to on the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you don't get to go to work, you don't have to pay bills, you don't have to pay taxes, but food sucks. You know?
I couldn't, I don't know. It would be crazy to even think about how much you'd have to learn to survive or how resourceful you would have to be. That's the thing that real quick, my last derail is something that you brought up when people would joke and go like, man, I wish I lived in a zombie apocalypse or whatever, or make little jokes like that. I'm just like, bro, we would all die. Because everybody's gonna go to Costco or go to 7-Eleven or go to Sam's Club, and then they're gonna get themselves trapped in there. So there goes all those rations out the window because now you got zombies everywhere. And it's like, cool, thank you everybody for going to the one spot where obviously there's plenty of food for everyone. Or even like in a mall, like there's no way the idea of a zombie apocalypse should be alluring. I would be terrified of having to deal with that. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, you think about how Joel has had to survive all these years, and I'm like, yeah, no, fam, I don't know how I would do it. And I guess 20-year-old Chef Boyardee, I would risk poison and death and heartburn to enjoy a bite of the past. But I think it also kind of goes to show, like, again, the symbolism of how this camping trip does feel like a blast from the past. I don't know how I'm going to make that sound some metaphorical, but here we are. We're going to go with it. It could also be a reminder of a time when life was normal. So even if they're lying to each other that the Chef Boyardee is good, I'm not over this. I'm sorry, everybody. It's been like 6 minutes. I do think that a part of it.
I think we should go buy Chef
assumption.
Boyardee after this recording. That's the reality.
I might low
it's
key.
only
I
fair.
might low key do that. Maybe we got to post a photo of it like later, being like we've made Chef Boyardee. But
I'm gonna go get it, guys. Yeah, we're gonna go get it.
But to go on, like, there's still moments of the old Joel that we know that happen in this moment. Like when Ellie asks to make a fire, he's himself, but also kind of different when he doesn't just tell her no. He goes, "Why would I tell you no?" And then tries to teach her survival tips. And again, this is like dad mode kicking in, because Joel could just say no, like no fire, and left it at that, like he's done before. But instead, now he's taking the time to explain, like, hey, this is why you don't want to fire. It's not because of the infected. It's because you don't want to draw attention to yourself with people, because in this apocalyptic world, you can't trust people. You can't really know what they're going to do to you, because we have a truck full of rations. We have a working truck. We have gas. We have weapons. We have everything that we need to get on through this trip. to deliver you to Seattle and to find my brother Tommy in Wyoming. Like, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. And even when he says he's going to sleep that night so they can drive throughout the whole entire day the next day, both day and night, he's got his guard up. He's ready to go. He's awake. He's watching over her. But my favorite reminder, again, that this is both the Joel we know and the Joel of the past, is Ellie tries to do this whole "I got a serious question to ask you" and tries to throw a dad joke at him with the why did the scarecrow get like an award or something? And Joel knew the answer and said he was outstanding in his field. And I love that moment too, because it does show that no matter how hard Joel's probably likely tried to push Ellie away so he doesn't grow attached to her, it's obvious there's an attachment there. Whether or not Joel wants to see it, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, the guard, I think, has at that point gone down, you know? I think that to me, it seemed like the guard already started melting when they, like you said earlier, like he doesn't know how to explain how the whole gasoline siphoning works. I think at that point, and then pulling out the book of jokes is where like it melted it for him, honestly, and it's all been downhill from there. Not downhill in a bad way, but more like downhill in of, you know, he's starting to turn back into a dad. He's not protecting her anymore like a package. He's protecting her how a dad would protect his daughter in this sort of scenario. You know, and I think that's why this episode is also just like the Bill and Frank and how important that episode was. I think this is also a very important episode because it shows the conversion, right, of the relationship, for sure. And to stop the derails, they move on to the city. Right?
Well, no, they actually no. This next conversation is very important, I think. Because
which one is it?
So in the morning as they're driving and talking and, you know, getting ready to go, she begins talking to him about Tommy and talking about the journey of going to go get him, because I believe he agrees with letting her join him in finding Tommy before they go to Seattle. And what's important about this conversation is it just shows you how worn down Joel is and how, in his mind, it's just about survival in this world. You just survive until you can no longer live. Because the way that he describes Tommy is Tommy wants to be a hero. Tommy has done all these things to become a hero. He joined the army and that failed. He joined a mercenary group, I believe, and Joel joined him to protect Joel. So we see what Joel values in this world, which is relationships and family, because that's what he has left to this world. And then when he joined the mercenary group, I believe in Boston with Tommy, that's where they met Tess, and that's when they started doing their own little runs with smuggling cargo and everything. And then Tommy broke away from that because the Fireflies gave him the allure of becoming the hero that he's always wanted to be. And then he becomes disillusioned because he realizes that they're not really who they wanted to be. They're not the revolutionaries that they set themselves up to be. And so, as Joel is describing this, we kind of see how Joel is much more practical and calculated and logical. Because he's kind of like you, Silver, where he's like, the Fireflies are dumb. Like, that phrase that they have, dumb. The way that they operate, dumb. The way that they try to, like, break stuff apart, dumb. The way that they don't really have a plan, dumb. And so, there's a moment of deception for Joel. If we're going to posit that he does care for Ellie. Because I believe Ellie asks him about family, and it leads to him reminding her that she's still just cargo to him because he made a promise to Tess. And so I believe that there's two things happening in this moment. There's the truth in that, in which he wants to fulfill his promise to Tess because Tess was his family. She was somebody that was very close to him. She was someone who kept him warm and kept him alive. She became one of the reasons to stay alive because she mattered to him. And so for him, delivering Ellie is fulfilling what he owes to her, or what he believes he owes to her, and honors her. But at the same breath, I believe it's him trying to convince himself that he doesn't care for Ellie, because he can't care. He can't put himself in that position to care about someone who really he's going to let go of in Seattle, and then that's that. So I think we see this moment between the two where it's obvious that there's a bond that's happening, because it shows in Ellie's face that she's bonded with Joel, because she's everyone that she's been with, she's lost. So for her, this is a new bond that feels safe and secure. And he's just trying to be like, nah, bro, there's no bond here. No. But there is. And I think we see that in a very telling moment between the two, where it's obvious to Ellie, like, she knows he's lying. And it's a matter of Joel being honest with himself. And then that's when they lead into Kansas City, which I believe was actually a change in the city from the game. I think they actually were in Boston in the game, but they changed it to Kansas City. I could be wrong, though.
Oh. I don't know. I haven't played the game that far yet. So I will say yes. Yes. Whatever Anbu said, that is what's happening. They start seeing this kind of like reminds me a little bit of what the sort of the cartel does in Mexico. Well, not necessarily. So I guess let me re-explain that. Not the cartel. It's individuals who like to pose like the cartel, and they take advantage of that fear to take from the people. But we start seeing how somebody is used as a sort of like oh, I'm injured, please stop, help me, sort of thing as they're driving into the city. And Ellie obviously is like, oh, look, it looks like I think she wants to try and help, but Joel's more experienced, and he already knows that, like, no, this is a ploy. Basically just looking around his surroundings and seeing how it's all being like canvassed in for them. I think he just goes for it, right? He just runs through the guy that is pretending to be injured.
Yeah. So he makes it a point because he notices that something is weird, because it looks like they're being led down this path anyway, based on the way that the rubble is. And the guy doesn't look bloody. I think that was one of the giveaways, was the guy looked like he was really like he hadn't been through any injury. And Joel could sense this and was like, put on your seatbelt, and then basically was pushing the car into him. But then the people that were trying to ambush him put a brick through the window or the windshield of the car, and then he crashes into, I think, a laundromat, which turns into a gunfight between Joel and the people who are ambushing him. And
right.
tells Ellie to go hide in this little hole in the wall, so that way he can protect her, because he doesn't want them to know she's there. And he's trying to protect the truck because that's all their resources. So it's kind of like I'm trying to protect two things at once, but I can't worry about Ellie. And this is not to be rude, but not worry about Ellie being a distraction by having to keep track of where she is in this situation. So by having her in one specific spot, Joel could do what he needed to do to try to save them. And
let him focus on what he knows how to do best: murder people, murdering.
Murder.
Hey, he's really good. He's really good at it, but you can't be doing it if you're too worried about a wild card, right? Which is what she is. Because she's at the end of the day, Ellie might seem like she has all this tough attitude and wants to help, but there's a lot of things that come with inexperience, right? And that is like second guessing yourself. Should I not shoot them? Mm-hmm. What is the encompassing of this? It's like, how will it change me into a person? But see, that entire thought process has already lost her like a couple of seconds, and Joel knows that when you're in some sort of situations like those, seconds means you die or you don't die. So I might as well remove the wild card out of the way so that he can focus on murdering these people. And like you said, he's guarding two things. He's trying to keep their resources while guarding her, while guarding himself, right? So yeah, she goes in there into a little hole, I believe, in the wall. She stays, and they're just kind of like listening in to see if he needs anything or if he's still alive, because she doesn't know really what's going on. I think she's on another room from the laundromat. Is that correct?
Yeah. So she's in this little office that's holed up and the door's been barricaded, but there's a hole in the wall so she could crawl into it. And Joel was like, go in there so that way you're safe. And so she is kind of listening, and she's not watching. She's really, her back is on the wall, to the wall. She's hearing what's happening. And there's this moment, I believe, of silence. And then all of a sudden she hears Joel beginning to struggle because there was a guy who snuck up behind him, and it turns into like a scuffle in a fight for survival. And we'll learn that this is an important detail to note later in the series, because there's an omission by Joel that tells you why he didn't hear this person coming. And so what happens is Joel is basically getting pinned down by this guy who's pushing the gun up on Joel's neck and is choking him out. Like, this guy is dead set on murdering Joel because he's already killed the other two. And in this moment, Ellie, with her gun, comes out because she realizes that she can save Joel and protect him. And yet at the same time, we see, like you said, that hesitation, those split seconds that matter of, can I really do this? Should I really do this? And, she does, but she doesn't get a kill shot. What actually happens is she hits his spine. This guy collapses on the ground. He's lost his legs to where he can't feel them. He is crying. He is begging for his life. He's trying to not argue with them, but trying to, bargain with them to live. Because he's afraid. He's used to things going his way, and now that it hasn't, he's now afraid. And it's a very sad moment, because you realize in Ellie's mind, she's going, oh God, what have I done? And you can see it in her face that clearly this terrifies her, that she's done this, that she's had to hurt someone, not kill someone. I think if he would have been dead, it wouldn't have had as much of an impact on her, as weird as that sounds. Yeah. But hearing someone plead for their life, trying to bargain with you, trying to humanize themselves by saying, my name is this, I can't feel my legs, can you bring me to my mom because she's not that far from here? It's gonna fuck with your head. And
yeah.
I don't know if you want to add more to
right.
it.
No, for sure. I agree with you. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Because even though she has this sort of personality that, like, I want to learn how to shoot. I want to learn how I can help, like she's trying to be self-sufficient, but at the same time always appeal to Joel. But at the end of the day, like, Joel knows very well, because it's normal. That's just how any, I think, person that's never, one, used a weapon, two, shot a person, or even killed anything. Even when hunting, right? When you're hunting, you still have those weird moments where, like, why am I killing this? What's the purpose? And then if you don't kill it, again, like you just said, like, if you don't kill it in one shot, you get to see that suffering. And I think it's the suffering, and because we're creatures that can easily empathize with almost anything. How we can empathize with, like, a piece of, like, furniture, you know. You know, we can like, right, that's why we like we sometimes are like, oh, my poor little car, you know, it got a dent, you poor little thing, you know, you feel bad for your car sometimes when stuff like that happens. So if we can empathize with something that is not actually alive, we can empathize with something that we literally just shot and didn't kill, right? Which is what she's experiencing, and he knew was going to happen, right? And he can see it. He's seeing how her mind is running, like you just explained. So he even, you know, takes the gun from her, and even, you know, tells her to go behind the wall, because even though she's trying to stay and focus and see this through, she can't. And she even gives in, because normally she's very defiant, right? Okay, but not this time. This time she actually genuinely listens and goes, and because he tells her to go back into the hole and get back inside, and she does it. She doesn't. She realizes, oh my God, you're right. I don't want to. I wasn't ready for this. I really wasn't ready for this. I thought I was. It seemed like something I can do, but I really am. I don't have that cruelty, maybe, or coldness, or that mentality to be able to do it like I thought it was going to go. And because everybody always thinks, oh, once I kill this thing, it's going to be over, you know, and that's it. But that's assuming, again, going back to actually killing it in one shot, right? And that is not what happened. And Joel knows that there's always those scenarios. You either kill it or you don't, and then you have to witness the cruelty extended. And this kid already knew he was a goner. The moment that Joel said, give me the gun, go back into the hole, because that kid knows already that what that means. Right. That means it's like I can no longer barter with this other person that still seems inexperienced. This guy for sure is gonna kill me, you know. And you start hearing the panic increase in this kid as she starts walking into the hole, because I think he even starts, you know, he just starts like crazily begging. Hopefully she turns around, but she's so already lost in her own psyche that she just wants to remove herself from the situation that she thought she can handle. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing I got for that one.
Well, and what I like about this, and it's kind of important to me, like, I love cinematography. I pay attention to how shots are for a lot of things, and I feel like I'm bragging. I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging, but like, what I love about this is whenever you see Joel or Ellie do something that is kind of like important for her character, the camera focuses on Ellie. So you see her reactions. Like when she finds the infected in that hole when they first were looking for rations before going to Bill and Frank's. When she cuts the infected, it really takes a moment where it focuses on her before focusing on the blade, and then showing the infected, and you kind of see that she's unfazed by it, because to her it's infected, it's no longer human. So it was interesting because in that shot it sets her up like as if she could just do that stuff and be fine. But then in this moment, when she has the gun, you don't see the guy get shot. You don't see anything but her face, her holding the gun up, her reaction to the moment of like making that decision and committing to shooting him, and then hearing the shot, and then hearing the guy flop and start saying stuff like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's going on, or like, hey, we're not fighting anymore, to switching to him was beautifully done, because you realize you get the sheer horror of what's happened. You get the reality sinking in without having to see it, because you see it sink in for Ellie. And also, to get to that other moment that you're describing, when the kid tries to barter by giving away the good knife, and Joel says to Ellie, go back in the hole. It's sad because there's two things that you know what that implies. One, he's not going to waste a bullet. Let's just all be very clear about that with Joel. This guy is very resource oriented. He knows how to survive. He's going to do what it takes to make sure that they have everything that they need up until the last minute. And that's what makes it so gut-wrenching, is when it doesn't show Joel doing what he did, but you know what he's going to do. And you see it play out in Ellie's face as she hears the pleading. And then the moment when the blade goes into him, and you know that the kid is dead. Because for Ellie, it's not the fact, it's like she didn't need to see it to realize how fucked
what's gonna happen.
Exactly. And as an audience member, you didn't need to see it either. And I thought that's what made the shot so poignant, was we didn't need to see it, but it was effective enough to let us know how shitty and terrifying it is to know someone who can do it because he knows he has no choice. It's terrifying.
No, definitely. I agree. It was an amazing shot and a good way for the director to go ahead and have us all experience that and witness that. Because, I mean, we could have seen the cruelty of it, but I think, again, it brings in more emotion, like you said, right? So it's a really good shot. But, you know, I think it also shows Joel how resourceful Ellie is, in the sense that right after that, she kind of goes from like, okay, I've cried it out, I made peace with what just happened. Now let's move on, right? I mean, she might not have been ready for that moment at that time, but she immediately kind of like pulled herself together, right? Because even he's kind of like looking for a trace on her to be like, is she like, how much did this affect her, right? And she's just like, you know, going through the notions of things like, okay, so, you know, let me open because I think he was trying to get into the room. And then they kind of like do a quick inventory of what they have, and then they just kind of move on because they don't know what else is out there. You know, they've taken out, I think, like, together with that kid that they just killed, I think there were a total of 3 or 4, maybe. I think it was but they don't know how many more.
3. Yeah.
3. But they don't know how many. They don't know how many more there are out there, or what else is waiting out there for them. So they're moving, I believe, right?
Yes. So I was gonna say that in that moment, I don't know if Ellie got over it so much as she realized she had no choice but to put it aside, because, like you said, they don't know how many more people there could be. That could just be an ambush party, and then I think there was a walkie-talkie too that they didn't answer, which made Joel go, shit, like, we need to move. We can't like sit here. I mean, in a situation like that, if you're trying to survive, it's like you have to put aside your emotions for now. Like, I know it's terrifying that you just killed somebody, indirectly killed someone, but we need to move because we're sitting ducks here. So in order for them to survive, it's kind of like they have no choice. They have to move. So isn't that right? Like, I think there was a walkie-talkie, wasn't there? Like something that indicated that they had to get going.
I believe so, because I know that they had to rush to get out of there and not knowing what else could be out there. So yeah, I'm gonna say that there was probably walkie-talkie that they were using, because they were a very organized group they were Fireflies, right? Yes.
No,
I believe so. No, or was it Fedra? Were they Fedra?
No. So, and we'll talk. So they're just a group of citizens in the QZ zone that just took over because Fedra, they realized that they had enough of Fedra, and I'm trying to remember what else. It doesn't really necessarily say exactly what led to them doing it, I believe. I just know that it's a group of survivors in that had beaten out Fedra, and there's like this lady who is leading them named like Kathleen, and for some reason she's hell-bent on finding some people who oppose her and her rule or something. It's all little.
Oh yeah, because they have that scene where she is talking to some
doctor.
I don't know if he's a doctor. There you go. Yeah. And she just does not want to he just does not want to talk. And I think that's where you, like you said, they're all gathered up together, and that's where she also finds out that, you know, her group, the kid and the other guys that got shot by Joel are dead. And I think that she just kind of refocuses her whole thing to try and see who killed her people. But yeah, you're right. I don't remember what they were. If they were just like some random cell of people that were just surviving from everything. Just really quickly though, I did want to correct myself. I wasn't saying that like she was over it. I guess all I meant was she no, you're good. I did say over it. But I meant to say what you said basically, which was she just kind of like adapted at the moment to the situation, and knew that, like you said, she had no choice. And you know, you have to put it to the side, right? Because it's not the time to break down. Which again, I gotta give her credit, man. Like, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can say, okay, this hurts, this is bad, but I don't have the time to break down right now. We need to keep moving, right? Not everybody has that. Not everybody has that ability to do that. A lot of people just break down. That's how they're built. It doesn't make them bad. It's just everybody's built a little bit different. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that I don't think she got over it. Obviously not. It's just you're like you said, like she had no choice. They have to move. What happens to them afterwards? I know that they keep on moving, and then they find another place to hide while it seems like now that group is trying to find them, though I don't think they know who they're looking for, right? They don't even know who killed their people.
Well, there's a little bit more to that. But real quick, do you mind if we pause for a second?
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize. I think I'm gonna have to head out.
Yeah, brother, no problem.
So do you mind if we segue into a part to say we'll continue on for part 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Go for it. Take us there. All right. Take us there.
So,
go for it.
Everyone, well, Silver, yes, there's definitely a lot more when it comes to everyone else. Like, we'll go more in depth about what the group is looking for. We're gonna go more in depth about a very actual good conversation that follows up to what happens in the laundromat, and then also we see. There's a surprise that also I think is really cool about, like, well, not cool. I'm stumbling here because basically there's a good setup for what's going to come in the next episode as well. But everybody, before we go, I know that we've been letting you keep tabs open and everything, but we might need you to close it out now. You know, we're trying to keep the tavern afloat, and I don't want Skitty over here to think that we're just running a free open bar. And Skitty, I'm saying they're gonna pay their tabs. It's fine. No. But anyway,
there goes Anbu. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay on top of these episodes. We will be posting up some ravioli shots, because I think it's only fair that we have some ravioli in remembrance of this episode. But we will go ahead and move on to second part of this episode, because there's a whole lot more going on here than we've just discussed clearly, right? Because we've been talking about it for quite a bit. But again, guys, close out your tabs. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.